Time now for this week's Health Matters. Paul Critz with you, along with Mike Thornton. We have PA Lynn Szabo in the studio, as always. And this week, I'm still enjoying branching out into kind of this, I guess we can call it post-COVID topics and getting Health Matters, looking into other things. We've gotten some comments and some people noticing the palliative care last week's episode. So there's comments on the YouTube channel. But so this week's topic is I guess you could call this this is a big thing these days. We're looking at this topic in a lot of new ways and how it folds in with so much more of the modern experience, anxiety.
And I as I kind of like to do, I was looking around for practical things that people can do about it, because it seems so pervasive, and it seems like we need more than pills maybe to solve it, or maybe more than counseling to solve it.
So is it? I mean, I don't want to get too deep into it. I know you've got some nuts and bolts sorts of things to share, but is anxiety more than just a medical issue in our society?
Yeah, I think so.
How do you think it expands beyond that sort of medical reality as a condition?
Because there's a lot that people have to worry about that changes day to day, kind of like politically, like traffic, like your phone breaking, and you don't really have control over any of that. But anxiety is, as we all know, a feeling of worry, nervousness, or unease, typically about an imminent event, and sometimes about an uncertain outcome. But chronic anxiety, and I don't think very many people realize this, but chronic anxiety is the most common presenting symptom of depression. Okay. So they're both kind of tied together. And I don't think people realize that, but if you're trying to solve an anxiety problem, that's really depression. It probably should have slightly different spin on the solution. And this was an article I read in The Guardian. The author's name is Tim Clare, and it was published on 5/22/22. And I thought he's a sufferer of anxiety, and it's pretty debilitating for him apparently sometimes. But he was looking at actual practical things that he could do to kind of help that in his life. So 7 things to try.
Okay, 7. All right.
So I thought that was funny the way it came out in the notes, but exercise, both HIIT, HIIT, and LISS, so HIIT and LISS.
I get it. So high intensity interval training. What's LISS? I don't know what that is.
Low intensity steady state.
So not just, hey, go exercise, but specific forms of exercise.
Right. Specific forms.
I thought LISS was laying in stasis.
Laying in stasis, sleeping.
That's funny, though.
I agree with the exercise thing. It's just, but the high intensity, I mean, we've got a punching bag hanging in the garage. I go work out anxiety on that.
That'd work. But I always define it, my own personal exercise program as hiking with hills. And then low intensity is a steady state. That would be like walking on a flat treadmill for 6
where you
minutes.
you're not up and down and as you would be with. So the high intensity, just to be clear, that's when you vary your heart rate by a certain sort of percentage of change, your flux, and you take it up and you bring it back down. You take it back up
and certain, they have theories about how much time that should be and when that should happen. But basically, that's exactly what it is. But this not only improves mood, probably because endorphins, I guess, but also helps people believe they can cope with change. So high intensity.
That sounded like such a, it's like a delusional statement. It also helps people believe they can cope with change.
So
they can't cope.
No, do another lap.
No, I think if you're at the bottom of the hill looking up at the hill and going through a high intensity period, and then there's a different feeling when you're at the top of the hill.
That's true. That is true.
So I think that's the point. So there's lots of hype. The next one would be probiotics. There's lots of hype about fighting anxiety with probiotics, but no real scientific evidence isn't sponsored by the probiotic industry.
Really? Oh, that's good, because I wondered about that, and I've just recently had talked to people about, it's your gut biome and all of that has so much to do with your emotional well-being and all of that, but we don't know that for sure?
No.
Wow.
There's no convincing of
Oh my God.
It sure is being promulgated a lot.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Oh, man.
But the way to look at diet might be better to focus on just avoiding simple carbohydrates, because increases in crashing and blood sugar make people feel dizzy, tired, and unable to think, and then they get anxious about that. And so that seems to be more data driven.
Okay.
So if they recommend specifically Mediterranean diets, and there actually are data to suggest that it is some mild correlation with less anxiety.
Okay, and to be truly effective with a Mediterranean diet, you actually have to go to the Mediterranean, right? Because I'm trying to get my health care to pay for that.
Sure, go for it.
There's a really nice town on the coast of Lebanon.
I bet there are a lot of really nice towns on the coast of Lebanon. Yeah, okay, all right.
Yeah,
I was thinking more
Mediterranean
Adriatic,
diet.
but
You could do
it's
that,
probably
too.
better. I think the food would be better.
Yeah.
Too many carbohydrates in Italy.
Totally would be better. So it's a more plant-based diet. It's more complex carbohydrates. It's more fruits and vegetables. It's more green things and less junk food. And they point out in this article, and I thought this was fair, that if your diet improves your health, then that's one less thing to worry about.
Sure.
Yeah. So that seems pretty straightforward. People come in all the time asking for medical help with this, and that's a reasonable model. I think medical people can help with it. But oftentimes they're not recognizing maybe the connection their anxiety has with depression. And I almost think it's a code word for, I just want Xanax, which would be, I want a pill that I can take on a intermittent basis when I'm actually having the problem.
Right.
And I don't really want any pills that are going to prevent me from having the problem.
Sure.
And pretty much that group of pills that they're talking about are benzodiazepams.
Okay.
Or antihistamines, which people don't really like because they just make them sleepy. So a better medication for this would be something like, like a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor, and those are the standard Prozac-like drugs. But even the data don't really support huge benefit with these drugs. I mean, initially people do great, and then as they're on them for a couple of months, that benefit seems to disappear. And really, they're not best used just by themselves. So there's no wishful thinking pill that'll make you better.
Okay.
And really, these pills have to be combined with counseling and other lifestyle changes to get any benefit at all.
Another important part about understanding benzodiazepines is that addiction to those, withdrawal from those, can be actually deadly.
Really dangerous.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things you can be really addicted to heroin, and you'll go through hell getting off of it.
Yeah, but it's not.
But you won't die.
Yeah.
You can die from withdrawal from benzodiazepines.
So I'm sorry, just going back to my health class in college and the drug chapter. So benzodiazepams, are they related to downers?
Different.
Yeah, but are they related to
downers? But do you mean Valium?
No, I guess I mean like bennies, baby.
Well, bennies were actually.
This is who I ask.
No, I know these things. Bennies were actually uppers.
Oh, okay.
What you're thinking about is
Benzedrine is what bennies were.
Right?
Okay.
Yeah, you're thinking about things like barbiturates, like Tuinol and Seconal,
which can also be deadly. And
sure,
yeah,
absolutely.
Okay, that's why I was asking that. Sorry about the William Burroughs breakout session we had. So yeah.
So the interesting thing about benzos is what you're saying is they hit the same receptors as alcohol. That's why people like them so much. And like alcohol, people become habituated to them. That means that what worked, a couple months ago, that same dose is somebody would need more to get the same effect. And you're right. So going off of them is potentially fatal thing if it's not monitored medically.
Yeesh.
And they're not really a solution. They don't really address the anxiety. They just kick the can down the road.
It doesn't seem like there's any magic pill solution to anxiety as an issue. Because it seems like, and I want to get into this, I know you've got some other things to get into, but it seems like it's a really anxiety is an amorphous condition and can be expressed for a lot of different reasons.
Right.
And I think it's also kind of marbled through our daily life and our society so much that it just becomes normal. Not healthy, but
not really tolerated. If somebody has an anxiety problem,
but is there ever really just an anxiety problem, or is it always something else?
What do you mean by something?
Some other cause, like the anxiety is the expression, is the symptom.
Not having enough money.
Or depression.
Or like your kids acting out, or depression.
Right, or anything. Right. Or maybe even just
grief.
Background radiation noise in our society and our daily life, you know?
Yeah, and I think people are also not really supported in their struggles with anxiety. There's a bunch of eye roll emojis going through my head right now. Like, oh, it's just anxiety. You just have to get over it. I see it mostly in postpartum right now.
You think in emojis?
I'd
be anxious about that. I'm sorry.
There's meds for that.
There's meds for that.
So, like in my practice with mothers and newborns and everything that they've gone through with COVID and conflicting information medically, and worry about putting their kids in daycare. Is it safe? Everything like that. Things like postpartum depression feed into this. Like, the mothers are super anxious, and they don't get any support.
Well, sure.
Is the point of that observation. I mean, people just kind of are not interested in, I don't know, maybe they're fighting their own battles and they don't necessarily have the energy to spend on somebody else. But really, the point being, we could all do better at supporting each other.
So I have what I'm afraid is going to be an incredibly stupid question. Recognizing that anxiety, chronic anxiety, or even acute anxiety can have physical effects. You talked about diet potentially causing anxiety. I mean, is anxiety an emotional response, or are there actual biological causes of anxiety?
Yeah, I think you're talking going back to, the saber-toothed tiger days. So you have
that was exactly because I had a saber-toothed tiger emoji
in your head
at that time.
See,
yes.
Yeah, no, is anxiety a result or is it a cause?
Well, anxiety used to be good. So if you were, if you had some awareness that there was something scary and potentially lethal out there in the night beyond the light of the fire, then that would help you take steps to stay safe through the night.
Okay, in that scenario, let's just say Dr. So-and-so goes back in time and you're in the cave with the cave people and they're being anxious. So he's not or she's not going to treat the anxiety like with a pill. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to deal with the saber-toothed tiger that's out in the dark. So how much traction can you get treating anxiety if it is just a follow-along result of another cause?
Well, the problem is that we have different types of anxiety right now. Ours is now chronic.
Okay.
So the anxiety in the cave, that's appropriate to a dangerous
situation. It's like situational, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then they did something like they made the fire bigger, or they threw rocks, or they boarded off, or the part that they were staying in, and then they felt safer, and then their anxiety resolves.
Sure.
We have constant anxiety that doesn't really go away, and it's not as well defined, so we don't have as much control over how we respond to it.
Yeah, and that's what I'm kind of confused with. It seems like we're going back and forth between this chronic, constant anxiety and situational anxiety.
Right.
Well, because it's almost like the misapplication of a basic survival instinct, and at the same time the constant triggering of that basic survival instinct with no ability to actually do anything other than worry.
Right.
Like in a group of people that through the ages have been kind of naturally selected to be more alert, more anxious about things, because that's what kept them alive and able to reproduce successfully. So we're all like primed for it. And so not only do we have it constantly going around us, but we're kind of through a natural selection process that has rewarded anxiety. We just have tons of it.
Is modern, like our experience of modern anxiety, is that similar to our experience of modern fat? in that it is something that had a different role later on that has been blown up and changed and hijacked in modern society.
Right. Exactly.
Wow. Okay.
It's an example of something that was probably beneficial at one time, and it just kind of
or is beneficial in small situational amounts.
And then now it's kind of morphed into like this one big blur of nightmare.
Wow, that's really interesting. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
It is. So here's a really practical thing that I didn't see coming. Cold water exposure.
What's that called? That reflex?
You're thinking about the diving reflex that's the kids take a...
No, I'm thinking about on ER one time somebody went into some sort of weird cardiac rhythm, and they splashed him with cold water and it shocked him out of it.
Okay, that was... They were working on...
TV.
Oh God, what's it called? It's probably a supraventricular tachycardia, and part of the treatment for that is immersing the face in cold water for cardiac massage.
Okay.
Denzel Washington and George Clooney invented that.
It's the Clooney procedure.
But this is kind of cool. It puts immediate brakes on the hormonal cascade that the body releases under stress. So all the hormones that are causing us to be stressed, it's like, wait, brakes on.
Go jump in the river.
I know.
Oh, wow.
How cool is that?
That's very cool.
And so you could also jump in a shower if you were like in New York or something. But
you could keep a super soaker in the fridge.
Or if you have a lot of general anxiety every day, then you could part of your shower routine could be like sitting in your freezing cold water wondering why you're doing it.
Yeah. No, I've known people who do it at the very end, like turn all the hot water off.
We've also talked about how that's actually an immune booster.
Right. No, I do remember. Yes.
Over the last couple of years for COVID. So that one seemed easy and few side effects and something that people could accomplish. So I was surprised to see that.
Any idea as far as like how long, just a spritz, you got to stand there for a minute, just until you feel better? Would you any sort of guidance with that? Or
I think it's like a polar bear plunge.
Okay. In and out.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't even think it has to be minutes, but some people kind of like the adrenaline rush and they stay there for a while. So, I'm talking, the next paragraph talks about psychedelics like LSD and MDMA. There's no really great studies about those because there's no ability to do a placebo-controlled study. And most of it involves intensive therapy. From my understanding, the studies they've looked at, they've done, because it's kind of an ethical thing. You have to like prepare somebody for something.
So you can't do a control that way.
Yeah, you can't surprise them. So it's impossible to say that it really helps that it was the drug or it was the therapy.
Because that's another thing a lot of people are talking about, like microdosing. Microdosing with mushrooms with psilocybin, and that's supposedly the next big like CBD was where it's the next big magic bullet.
Right, and it also kind of brings marijuana in the picture. So a lot of people use marijuana medicinally for anxiety, but if you hook somebody up to like a EKG machine and like sensors that are designed to look for stress reactions,
that's what getting high is. Yeah. Right, it's a stress reaction. Yeah.
And if anybody out there has ever gotten high and they got paranoid about their parents or the cops or something, that to me that seems kind of obvious. But that it's more likely to make people more anxious than less.
Huh.
And then if you use it all the time because you're really hoping it's fixing you, then you got an addiction issue at some point.
Yeah.
Am I the only one who thinks that periodic paranoia about the police isn't necessarily maladaptive?
Just because
not really.
You're paranoid.
It doesn't mean.
And I suppose you could put alcohol in this because a lot of people drink alcohol as an anxiety control mechanism, and
So is the microdosing and the mushrooms and all of that, the psychedelic acid, is that analogous to the to what was it before, to the gut biome stuff? Is that just all hearsay and
kind of wishful
stoner
thinking.
talk? Yeah, okay.
It's kind of like cranberry juice helps women with urinary tract infections.
Wait a minute, stop.
I know.
That's not a thing? What?
U-turn. Oh my God. Yes.
Yeah, new show.
It's not a thing. It's
what?
So not a thing.
Really?
Oh my God.
Yeah. Oh, I roll emojis going on in my head now. Yeah. It's not a thing. It's a cranberry marketer's thing.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah, got it.
Man.
I've had to run out to the store in the middle of the night to
get cranberry juice, right? And that was, oh, wow. I feel so duped. Really, all of these things, these old wives' tales, these
This is
just little.
This is a marketing ploy. So, you want me to digress into this? Because there's a study that looked at it.
No, what I want is I want a show that challenges all of my preconceived notions and shows what BS they are. That's what
I'll
want.
save it for that.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
This is the
Oh my God.
whole marketization of medicine.
Yeah, I'll be damned.
Completely.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so sorry. Yes, back into. I'm still.
What I
I'm
think
blown
is
away.
weird is how come providers continue to recommend stuff.
Right, because they come up with the same sort of thing where that's a little piece, that's a nugget of wisdom that's around us all the time.
I know, it's in the handout you get, that you read before you throw in the back of
Oh
the
my God!
car.
Next, you're going to tell me Listerine was just a floor cleaner and they invented chronic halitosis.
Okay, another show.
That's exactly what
Yeah.
happened too. Wow.
The next thing is journaling, which oh God, this one.
Oh no, journaling.
I know, I have the same reaction.
Well, no, journaling is that's a made up thing made up by big
People who like to write.
the big journal industry, the big blank book industry. wants us to
Big
journal.
pencil and paper.
It is commonly recommended for anxiety. I don't think it's particularly
Makes me more
helpful.
anxious. I don't.
I would only. To me, it would only be important if somebody was using it as more like a symptom diary.
Okay.
Like, every
like a
time I get around my
mindfulness.
mom, I kind of become, my pulse goes to 140.
Right, right,
stuff like
yeah.
that. So I don't think that it really helps, with one exception in the studies, specific traumatic events. And so that might give people some insight. But
Well, that's
for the most part-
situational, and you're writing about a specific thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's kind of like a headache diary. I have a headache, so your provider says, write a headache diary, and so you're writing what time of day it happens, what part of your head hurts,
Sure.
do you have visual symptoms, did you eat something in particular, did you not sleep well the night before, stuff
So,
like that.
but if you're just sitting around and you're journaling about how you're always anxious, would that be a helpful thing?
Probably not, unless you're talking about a specific traumatic event, and then that can help people. But then to process that, I think people would need a counselor.
Right.
So I think counseling.
critic.
I think counseling is actually the most important thing here, which is like super hard to get in this county.
Yeah.
And it's there really is like in Humboldt County has a walk-in office where on Monday afternoons you can walk and get walk-in crisis care.
Wow.
If your crisis is on Monday afternoon, but there's nothing like that here, absolutely nothing. And even there's kind of a push to bring counselors into the exam room. Like if I happen to get somebody who's flipping out,
Yeah.
and
Just to have somebody there
yeah,
that you can.
10 minutes of my training doesn't seem to be working. And, having a counselor there would be really helpful. They're supposed to be able to be a handoff there. Almost never is able to happen. Wow. Yeah.
There's another episode. Why is that?
We need more counseling.
Why is there? Is it even among the medical industry I hate saying industry, healthcare? I mean, is there a discounting of the role of counselors as opposed to,
Not in that situation. I think that any provider, any medical provider would be super happy to have somebody.
Then why
take
don't
off
we
their
have them?
hands. Why don't we have them? I think there's a disconnect from what administrators think a provider can do, like the average family practice provider can do, and what they're actually trained to do.
Oh, okay. So, but it happens on an administrative level as
I
opposed
think
to.
so, because they just want you to handle it and
Right.
have it not be a problem.
Yeah,
I think
give
another
them the
part
pills.
might be similar to why sugar and white flour is heavily subsidized and really cheap to buy everywhere, and actual good food is super expensive.
What? How so? How's that falling along? How's it
Because
the thing?
it's just another one of those things.
Easy.
It's like what's the easiest thing? I mean, what's the easiest thing to do? Here's some Xanax.
Well, looking more closely at anything is never the easiest thing to do. So
Right.
yeah, I can see how that.
I mean, it may have been a bad analogy, but I do think there is something to it.
I thought you were playing the race card with the white sugar and the white flour, and I thought
Well, yeah, it's because of the Public Enemy that you were
that's
playing.
it exactly.
Exactly it.
I'm sorry. It's a beautiful day, Lynn. That's what this mood is, I think. It's a very nice day out there. I'm just kind of punchy.
I'm just getting super anxious that if I have a crisis, it has to
be on a Monday.
And a Monday afternoon in Humboldt County.
And I have to be in Humboldt County, too.
And here's the funny part about it is the people that are manning that Monday afternoon clinic at the Humboldt Family Resource Center are our students.
Oh, wow.
They're really good students.
Sure, that's fantastic, but
students.
As compared to your average anxious student?
No, they're student counselors, so their skill level, although growing, is not maybe what an experienced counselor.
They're like in the counseling program at the university or
Right.
something. Yeah.
That's who gets access to counselors these days then? I mean, if in a walk-in crisis center you can't get counselors, where are they? Who gets them? Wow.
Why don't they teach it in medical school?
Yeah.
They teach some of this in medical school. This is like 10 minutes. So what you get is, okay, the patient's in crisis.
See, and that's the thing. You can teach it in medical school. You
could
teach it at the police academy. You could teach it in all manner of.
Right.
Yeah.
That would be
You
amazing.
could just drop the illegible handwriting course and put it in there.
I can read most doctors' writing. They look like seizures.
Yeah, but you're on the inside.
But anyway, that's 35 years of experience. So the truth is that combination, really just solve an anxiety problem is a combination of everything we've talked about. And people really want it, because it's so horrible to be in the middle of a panic attack. People just want to be better, like right that second.
Right.
That's why Xanax is so popular. That's why it gets people so hooked, because it works like super quickly, so onset of action really quickly, and then it's gone really quickly. And then if you haven't really addressed the problem, what's happening again? Rinse, repeat, boom.
Right.
And then people actually become physiologically addicted.
Well, and probably with intensified rebounds of anxiety, I would think. I mean, not just the withdrawal from the addiction part, but you take the Xanax, fine, you feel better, but when the Xanax wears off, you're not just as anxious as you were previously, you're more anxious.
Yeah, like a bounce. Your symptoms are worse, and then you have no real insight on how to deal with them other than where's the Xanax bottle. So
I've seen some things lately, and I'm actually looking right now. I'm Googling and looking for articles and things that I've seen in the past, just recently, about this kind of resurgence of existentialism based on the prevalence of anxiety in modern. Because anxiety is very much a part of existentialism, and that goes back, to mid-19th century, maybe a little bit before. Anxiety was a way of life in existentialism, and it seems like we kind of moved past existentialism culturally in society. But we kept the anxiety. And so now there's kind of people are going back and reading Kierkegaard again and going, okay, what was he saying about all this anxiety? Because to them, that's the human condition, is anxiety.
right,
That's what we're born into.
yeah, we're born into suffering.
Yeah. And worrying about that suffering and all of that stuff.
And sometimes it's not even apparent to people what they're anxious about.
Exactly.
I mean, it can be super generalized, like they're just anxious about the world, or it can stem from maybe post-traumatic things that happened when they were, before memory, like really young children.
Yeah.
Probably, I mean, just going on what you two were just talking about, I would think almost the best therapy for anxiety would be Zen.
Yeah.
But that's and then, okay, let's get back to Zen, though, is a little boat answer, right? And I think that healthcare tries to go for the big boat answer. The two Buddhist tracks, right, where you've got the big boat and the little boat, and the little boat's for the people who get it with Zen and can get hit over the head and all of a sudden are enlightened, and the big boat are the people who have to do the daily work because they don't have that in them to just have that sudden satori enlightenment, and so they have to do the work.
Or they don't have the education, but they have the past history of being, having violence directed against them. I mean, it's not for everybody.
Right.
Not only because it would be kind of a process and people are resistant to process when they're in that much pain, but also because I think some education needs to happen, and I'm not sure that it does.
I'm not sure we even know what we would teach, though. I don't think
Right.
we understand the role of anxiety in our society. And I see it in our conversation because we go back and forth between situational anxiety, more widespread, broader,
yeah.
generalized anxiety. And I don't think we really have an understanding of what it is we're functionally talking about.
Or when anxiety is really represented as symptom of depression, and the real problem is depression.
I think it's also possible, and you straighten me out if I'm wrong, that it might be an innate human condition you're born with, and that we just live in a society that just ramps that up. You know what I mean?
I think
Like
you're
it's a natural
born with
condition.
a potential, and then I think as you're an infant or a toddler or something, things start to happen that you didn't expect. Like you didn't expect to fall down and get hurt. Because kids that if they have no experience with that, how would they know that that's a possibility if they slip on the floor or trip over a toy or something like that? And then they start to accumulate data about the world, and it makes them anxious because it's not always predictable.
I don't think that's unnatural.
Right. I don't think so either. I don't know.
So what's unnatural? What are we treating then?
Unnatural is what's unnatural about it is that what I think is there's no understanding for it and support to kind of get through it. It is what I think needs to happen, and that's unfortunately in this society. Oftentimes, that's counseling,
Right.
and we don't have that.
Yeah.
Well, and it also seems to me that, once again, perhaps a therapy, or at least an entree into therapy, would be educating the public that anxiety is a lot more widespread than you might think it is, because you might be thinking, I'm the only one who feels like this. I'm the only one
it's
who's
very
responding.
isolating.
It's very isolating.
Yeah.
And if more people understand, this is much more of the natural human condition, or there are millions and millions and millions of people who are experience this same thing, I think that in and of itself would go a long way to lessening the anxiety. I
Yeah.
would think.
Yeah.
Oh, so like treat each other humanely. Wow.
Oh,
Wow.
God.
Yeah. And,
Why do you hate America?
and and build societal systems that treat us humanely too, and treat us as humans. And okay. All right, anxiety. Well, we solved it this week.
Well, one
So
little
what-
step forward actually is that Saturday clinic that I'm doing at Del Norte Community Health Center. Can I
Yes.
put another plug in it? It is wildly successful.
Okay, so let's flesh that out a little bit, because people might be listening to these ad hoc in the future. Just what was it? Last week was the first week? Yeah, the first Saturday.
June 4th.
June 4th.
So we just had Saturday number 3.
Oh wow, already.
It's open from 10 to 2. It's at Del Norte Community Health Center right there in the corner of North Crest and Washington.
And anybody can come.
Anybody can come,
Drop in.
right? It's an acute care clinic, so it's
So you have to
better
be
if
cute.
you arrive with a really defined problem that is not emergency room worthy. Although
So a defined problem up to emergency room worthy.
if
That's cool.
Yeah, if somebody comes in with something that I think after talking to a person and maybe getting things like vitals or some in-house labs, if I think somebody needs to go to the ER, I'll make that recommendation.
Okay.
But it's like a dog bites infected, or I have a sore throat, or there are a lot of UTIs.
Sprained ankle. I mean, can you can you do X-rays there?
No,
Yeah,
I send
you'd have to
X-rays
send
to
them.
Sutter.
Okay.
I send blood tests to Sutter if I need them immediately, but mostly they can just have future order it on Monday.
So it can't, because the lab's not open on a Saturday in Open Door, right? Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was going to say, Open Door has its own lab, and they have a really quick turnaround time.
They do. And you can do some labs like pregnancy tests or urine dip or something, but you can't do any blood,
Yeah.
really.
You got nobody
I
working.
suppose I could do a hemoglobin.
Well, right, but on Saturday, but
easy.
that's because the ability to test is closed with the rest
Right.
of the clinic.
Yeah.
If I needed something more urgently, then I would either send them to the ER, if that's where the resources to solve their problem is, or I could get something done and it just at Sutter and just make sure that I go around and recheck the results. But there are a lot of things there that are going to be really helpful for acute needs.
Okay, so open door, and that's you said 10 to 1 or 10 to 2?
It's 10 to 2.
10 to 2 every Saturday.
Yeah, I'm the provider there. They've got a nurse on staff and also an MA, and that seems to be rotating. I expect, because the numbers are like blowing their minds, that they're going to extend the hours.
That's fantastic.
I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up at some point, maybe by the end of summer, going to 10 to 6.
Like all day.
10 to 7.
Wow.
Right now it's 10 to 2.
Right on, right on. Well, I'm glad that it's meeting a need we very obviously have here in the community. So good on you.
Yeah, so thanks for your help with that.
Well, all we do is just tell people things. It's up to them
Let's
to
have
get
them
hurt.
bring in a counselor, too.
What's that?
Let's have them bring
Bring
in
in
a
a
counselor.
counselor.
Bring in a counselor, right?
Wow. Okay.
Wow, yeah.
All right.
All right, Lynn Szabo, PA, Health Matters. Any inkling what's coming up next week?
I am still looking for Dr. Parker to join us.
Okay.
She's our pediatrician in town and talking about childhood immunizations. Because as you know, the FDA gave emergent approval for COVID shots for infants as young as 6 months.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, both Moderna and Pfizer.
And even though we've moved on,
On Friday.
we're talking about other things in Delaware County, we're still very much high risk, and it has not gone away.
It isn't. Not at all.
All right. Well, Lynn, thank you very much, and we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.